Hello, hello, and welcome. Welcome on into the Swear Word. I'm your host, Brandon Swear, and hey, this is a podcast for the chilihead community by the chilihead community. Regardless of your spice tolerance, this is the place for you. Up tonight, we have an amazing episode, locked and loaded. We have one sauce on deck for Hot or Not, as well as an amazing guest that is ready to go, and a very fun game plan. So episode 161 starts now. What's going on, Sway Nation? So glad to have everyone here. Whether you're tuning in on YouTube, Spotify, Rumble, and or Apple Podcasts, thank you so much for being here and continuing to make this podcast what it is. If you just recently found the podcast, welcome. Glad to have you here. This is your place for everything to do with the world of hot. Continue to share this out with other like-minded chili heads and help grow the channel here. I thank you all for everything that y'all have been able to do. And, of course, also have one sauce here on Hot or Not tonight. This is a new sauce. If you're looking for a nice dessert sauce, that's definitely going to be one that will be right up your alley. Right as we're rolling into Christmas here, this is going to be a great one to have on the table and have around. So looking forward to jumping into that, as well as we have Mike from Pepper Merchant here as our guest tonight. We're going to be discussing everything to do with growing, from like hydroponics to in-ground to starting seeds to saving seeds. A great way to be able to dry your seeds without having any kind of seed loss. So very fun discussion going on there. And of course, a very fun game. So if you would like to play along with the game, fire off in the comments if you would have answered anything different than Mike did. But let's do this. Let's go ahead and jump on over to Hot or Not. All right, hey, welcome on into Hot or Not. As always, I do not like to read the ingredients ahead of time. I like to let my taste buds do the exploration. And of course, I don't do a 1 out of 10 scale. I do 1 out of 5. That's really based off of 5 different categories. Those categories are heat, aroma, flavor, versatility, burn. We add those up, average them out, and that gives us the total swear word rating. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into the very first product. Chiro Ancho. So this is a dessert-based hot sauce. So for those individuals that are always looking for their nice dessert-based hot sauce, as you can see here, this is going to be one that you could definitely put into that rotation. For those that are keeping track, yes, this does have a perforation on the cellophane. Beautiful color on this sauce. Nice high flow on this, and it just looks like a beautiful glaze going on here. The light brown, almost like whenever you're getting a nice clean shot of espresso. That's what that overall color is looking like, that very light brown, that frothy nature to this. Beautiful aroma, definitely picking up the cinnamon right off the bat. A little bit of sweetness. I mean, it smells just like what I would expect, like cinnamon, some honey, some overall savory, smoky notes to this from the aroma. So looking forward to this, but cheers. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. No dessert needed. Just drink the bottle. You'll be fine. Oh my goodness. This is so good. You're getting that great savory, smoky, and sweet body carried forward here. From that, you get a slight tongue and lip sizzle. But what happens is, really, as that flavor is exploding and as that kind of sizzle is hitting the tongue and the taste buds, then you start to get this nice cascade and handoff from that and into the burn. You're feeling it more in the back of the throat. So that's interesting. Has to be obviously more than the ancho in here. So that ancho is probably what's that thing that is hitting the front of the tongue, that nice little quick flash sizzle, if you will. And then there has to be something else really being able to deliver that back of the throat. Just slight touch of heat, nothing too crazy. So if you're just starting out, you're still going to be able to use this sauce. You're still going to be able to have a great time. Now, if you're working on your own personal best, this sauce right here is going to be anywhere from a mild to medium, depending on where your tolerance is at. Most will say this is a medium heat sauce. This is flavor packed, and hands down, I could see this going great on like cookies, pie, ice cream, obviously churros. I'm going to be dunking this into some churros, or maybe, just this would be a pretty good one to just fill inside the churro and eat that. Oh my goodness. That would be pretty freaking amazing. Apple pies with this, you just name it. This is going to go very well with it. I could also still see myself using this though on, say, like a pulled pork taco or something that has a little bit more of a fatty nature to it, and really being able to let the sweet and the cinnamon and all these other things kind of just really help balance it out. It's starting to get a little bit colder. You want something with a little bit of cinnamon, a little bit of spice. This is going to be a great addition if you're wanting to splash some spice into your overall adult beverage. But you're getting a nice smoky, earthy note from the ancho, but you're immediately greeted with a nice sweet, smooth sweet to carry through with a bright cinnamon, bold nature. Now, from there, you are then getting what tastes like maybe that savory body carries forward, and you're getting a little bit of a slow back of the throat build, which kind of lets me think maybe it's a ghost pepper, maybe it's a ghost pepper-esque type of Superhot that's going on in here, because the way that it's slow built, but it didn't go super high. So either it's a lesser amount that's in here, or it is, probably in that ghost pepper range based off what I'm experiencing here. So vinegar, ancho chili peppers, cinnamon, dates, sweet potato flour, ghost pepper, cayenne, raw sugar, nutritional yeast, avocado oil, and salt. Okay, so there's a 3-pepper blend in this. You have the ancho chilies, you have the cayenne, and the ghost pepper. If you enjoyed the Chiro Ancho from Savir Foods, I'll have the direct link down below for it, as well as a link to the main site so you can check out the full lineup of amazing products from Savir Foods. Highly recommend you checking all those out. They have some that have been featured on Hot Ones and tons of sauces that are just packed with amazing flavor and much, much more. So head on over there and check those out. But let's do this. Let's go ahead and jump on over to tonight's discussion. Hey, Mike, how's it going?
Good, yourself?
Doing great. Glad to have you here. Obviously, I've had the pleasure of talking to many different Canadian sauce makers, and I've always heard your name dropped there. And of course, I've seen you online as well, sharing great photos, as well as really kind of, just being able to be there and kind of get tapped in. I see you helping others online whenever they're having issues or struggles or questions going on. So honored to have you here and learn more about Pepper Merchant.
Thank you so much for having me, and congratulations again on 2 years of the show. It's quite an achievement. It takes a lot of dedication to keep up with that, I bet.
Yeah, no, thank you so much for that. It's a lot of fun, and I'm just honored and glad to continuously meet new people within the community and really get to know them better. One thing I always like to lead off with, which is ultimately the only set question, if you will, it's the icebreaker. What got you into the world of hot, and then what was that moment that you said, you know what, I'm going to start growing peppers and selling seeds online?
So in about like 2017, my wife and I were kind of like, we had moved cities and kind of exploring new food and stuff like that, and we had tried like a typical Trinidadian dish, and it had like really good kind of like Scotch bonnets and like cinnamon pots in it, and we were blown away by how flavorful it was without being so overpowering that you can't digest it properly, right? And we were like, we should learn to grow these. Like, why can we not grow these here? Like, what is stopping us from actually doing this? So we jumped online, we bought a hydroponics kit, and we started indoors. And we thought, what a cool thing to do to be able to like. Canada, we have like gray seasons, lots of snow. It's not the greatest habitat for hot peppers, but we thought, let's give it a go. Let's grow inside. Let's get it going, and we did. And it went pretty well. We had kind of like our peppers indoors, kind of the grow lights, and at first, in your living room because you want to watch them and kind of like see what's going on, keep tabs on them, and it was really exciting. And then we thought, like, well, around 2018, we're like, why don't we save some seeds and try growing more? So early 2018, we had like maybe 4 or 5 plants outside in fabric grow bags, and that's I guess like our origin story, right? My wife and I like kind of starting out doing that because it came from like a culinary perspective. I'm not a chef or anything by trade. It's just we wanted to have something fresh available year round, and we saw a problem, and we decided, well, let's take it on. Let's see if we can do this ourselves. It's not something that is super common to be growing, plants indoors hydroponically for fruit in our area. So that's kind of where we come in from a different angle than maybe more traditional people who have, been on a farm for like 3 decades and whatnot, right?
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's super cool. And that idea of really being able to have the unification, I guess, through the growing between you and your wife. Yes, as a you know chili enthusiast in general, anyone that like loves to look at the different shapes and colors and all the wild and crazy things that can happen as you're growing peppers, I would imagine it would be super easy to talk into the idea of removing the TV to have more plants inside, and then you can just watch the plants because yes, very true to that. Even when you're just starting out, like all you want to do is kind of like that Ace Ventura, it's just looking
Mhm.
in and watching.
Absolutely. I think that like starting out small is definitely like the way to go for first time growers. Even hydroponics, you remove most of the like nuances and complexities with like outdoor bugs, and as long as you can buy pretty easy kits out there they come with the nutrients, they come with the growing medium and the light, and it's all in one. Are you going to get massive yields? Is your plant going to be as big as Rich's? Like, no, you're not going to see that kind of stuff. You are totally going to get the feel, and like that's the spark moment for most people, I think, that they kind of feel accomplished, like, hey, I grew this, I grew it inside. And then they kind of migrate outside, and they're like, oh, there's new challenges, right? We have to figure out how we're going to handle this. And yeah, I do think that like it's definitely an addiction, almost as much as you see people who eat spice competitively. It feels almost like a, how can I push that barrier? How can I continue on or do better or increase yields or this or that, right?
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. And it's interesting too because it's like while you're, let's take talk it like how you're saying, just starting out, you got a few plants indoors, you get to really even in an environment like that as someone just starting out, you really get to understand what the plant's trying to tell you, how to properly tend to these plants. And so realistically, starting with a smaller grow and just kind of working from there, you're in a much better position than having to worry about, say, running outside and there's like 200 plus plants and you're like, this is my first year. I don't know what I'm doing, and trying to chase all these different problems for different plants, and then going, the soil needs this, but no, wait, these plants that are right over here, they seem fine. Why does this one not? And it's a different layer of difficulty you shouldn't have to deal with if you're just starting out. And so I guess advice there, very similar to what you're saying. Please just, if you're passionate, if you're jumping in, you're wanting to learn, start small, learn from the, what pops up, what occurs. And it's not always going to be the same each year, but working small and working up is way better.
Absolutely. And you touched on a really good subject there with soil, right? It's one of the key ingredients that people kind of forget to take care of when they're doing their peppers. I don't want to jump into like a whole, unless you want to do a deep dive on soil, but like it kind of really is like the magic pudding that makes your peppers happy, right? Like nutrients are key, and everything, but soil really makes it. And you're right. If you start indoors, you read the plant. Okay, when am I experiencing nutrients deficiency in this? Maybe the light's too intense here. You kind of understand the plants from a simplistic level, which can be really challenging once you move outdoors. But you're right. Starting small is the way to go. Like we see so many people start, oh, I have like 300 plants. I've never done it before, and by the end of the season, they're tired. They don't have the spark anymore, and they just feel overwhelmed by it all. And I think that that's where I like the excitement of people saying that they're growing lots of plants, but in the end, it's like we know people that grow less plants than us, and they have way larger yields, right? Because they have the time every day to sit there and kind of turn the soil, read the plants, read the leaves, and kind of see what it's telling them. And it's not that we don't do those, or we're not. It's not that we're not good stewards to the plants at all. It just kind of is like time and energy, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah, it's very true to that sense. It's the idea of like large families, how certain kids feel that they don't get the even share across the board. Well, when you're doing a large grow, you're ultimately doing the same thing. While you feel that you're out there kind of tending to every plant, you might actually be neglecting another that could in turn end up cranking out more peppers, or just simply like one plant could just be simply just that, a plant. It could never fruit. It could just be whether it's bad genetics or an early cross and things are just kind of a little bit, trying to figure themselves out, or just simply it didn't get the nutrients it needed. All these kind of things, yeah, they become a big problem, and it's something that I know I didn't do great on, and I know it's easy to get excited and you look online, you see all the videos and the pictures, and you're like, oh, these are so cool. I want them. Um, Also, there's a layer that I feel like gets overlooked by a lot, which is they'll grab something to grow it and then it's too hot for them per se. So then they don't know what to do with it. And it's like, hey, I love the idea of growing and what they're doing, but you could also see that kind of work in a double edged sword where maybe the person's devoted so much, they haven't really seen the true benefit or effect. And then they just fizzle out and then they don't want to garden. They don't want anything to do with all that. And that's not a good place to be either.
Yeah, you touched on an excellent topic. Like genetic selection is so key. It's important that people, like, if you are saving your seeds, to carry forward good seeds and not embellish them in any kind of way, or even blending seeds. We see that happen. Like we buy seeds from a lot of vendors and we trade seeds with a lot of people. I think it's really good to have that connection with the community where you're not kicking back money to Uncle Sam, you're trading this for that and kind of like helping each other out, right? It's so key in exchanging ideas. Like I can tell you that we've had seeds that we've mailed out, we've sold, like down to like our last, like what I have for my reserve that I keep for keeping, like we log each year photos of each pod, like not each pod, but like from the plants and everything like that. And if we see that something shifted and like another like person has grown it out, like from a farm that we know, we'll ask for seeds back, right? Because we want to bring back what it is that is the strongest for the customers and for ourselves. Like I see a lot of people that grow new varieties each year, and I'm not downplaying any other vendors. They bring a new product every year and then it felt out and then it's gone. And I think that's great for the like, oh, we got a pick of a pod and it looks really good. I'm on to the next thing. But I just feel we try and grow it year after year after year. We try and post all the stability based off the information you have. In a lot of trades, you don't really know a lot about the background of the pod. And saving the best plants, you're doing yourself a favor, and you're doing the next person a favor. Nobody likes to spend the month it takes to grow plants to get the blob. That's what we call it. Like, oh, another one of the a butt cross blob, right? Great.
Yep, absolutely. But yeah, I mean, that's ultimately part of the problem, which is very true to what you're saying. So many people get passionate and caught up in the idea of growing out what's new, what's out there, the flashy things, the eye grabbing things. But then they kind of lose interest in something that might have already starting to be building its foundation, like getting closer to being more stable. And then these end up dropping off a lot of the different seed vendors' lists of things to offer. And then you start to really just trust in the fact that hobbyists out there are going to be able to keep that alive.
Yeah, absolutely. And there is definitely like you have kind of like the broader hot sauce community and like the broader hot community in general. I can't just say like limit the scope to just hot sauce, right? But and then you kind of have like the seed saving community, which is made up of people who are like not necessarily in the hot sauce community, but care about carrying forward certain varieties. Maybe they're in bed with a producer for this or that. Or maybe they just have an interest, like they have like a nephew or something that really enjoys hot peppers, and I think that's where like hot the hot community, you have this really nice apex between like people who are producing food, people who are growing food, and people that are passionate. And when you have that combination, even with how like hot sauce community can be unapproachable in certain aspects, you really get this really nice fusion between the three. And I think that's what pushes us forward to keep going, right? That's what we have a very short growing season here where we live, but we want to do it and we want to select the best and carry the best forward because we've been, for lack of a better term, burned before
Mm.
on seeds that don't turn out, or they're huge wastes of field space, which means they're a waste of resources, they're a waste of growing time, they're a waste of growing medium, and just our time, right? So
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And it's interesting too because like thinking about it, obviously you're seeing a more accurate pulse. Like obviously we see everyone's overall engagement online, whether that be a photo that's shared about a certain pepper, etc. And you kind of see the overall interest in that sense. But it in reality, interest is one thing, commitment is a different. So like as you've started to see people really place these orders for seeds, are you starting to notice a trend of people just more interested in chasing what's the hottest, or are you finding people that are looking for actually more of a flavorful or very unique kind of mix to the overall seeds?
I think like early on, like when we launched seeds around October, because our season wraps usually the first week of October. You have those hardcore customers that are just coming every year. They want the latest and greatest. They want, the fried chicken. They want this. They want that. It definitely happens, and that's great. We really appreciate the support. But the interesting orders are the January ones. I love seeing kind of like someone picking through and getting like Guajillo chilies because they want to make burrito taco down the line, or kind of like anyone who's buying sets of chilies that I'm like, oh, this is gonna make it like I can almost see it, right? This is gonna be an excellent salsa based off of what they're buying, right? I those are the ones that I really enjoy. And then like hearing customer feedback, we do a lot of in-person markets, and we kind of travel around and do them, and we do kind of market for 2 years in one area, and then we'll move on to the next because I feel like that's how you get a pulse for what's going on. And it's nice to have customers you don't know show up and be like, "Oh, I only came because you're here. I saw online that you were going to be here, and I only came to your booth because I wanted to buy peppers from you and talk to you about peppers." And I enjoy that, right? Like it's it has to be also social and like for yourself and for the consumer who's going to be spending the next 6 months growing your like a product that maybe you didn't create, but are kind of being steward to and kind of carrying forward and ensuring that the customer gets the best growing experience they can. I think that's what we strive for, is like to really make sure that people aren't wasting their time.
Yeah, absolutely. Something that kind of goes hand in hand with that, obviously being present at these markets, you're able to gauge, like you're saying, what's going on. And all, at the same time, those that are coming out are able to kind of see a good in-person representation of some of these peppers that you are growing. So they know, when it is time to grab seed, they know what they're going to be growing, as opposed to there's, quite a few vendors out there that I've noticed that sharing images, I guess, is one thing and it's cool, but like to have 0 of your own images in there seems to be a bit of a hard ask as a customer. So, like being able to, having a good picture, good clear picture is one thing. But to really not show off the grow, whether that be online or on the website or whatever, just does seem a little bit strange at times, right? So.
I agree. I think like as a consumer, you have to be objective. You have to look and say, are there multiple photos of pods, or is this one pod that looks super gnarly on a plant that was underproducing? And we're guilty of it too. We have some listings on our site where we only have like one photo of like say like a exceptional pod, and then a photo of 3 pods that are also still at our level that we believe to be like part of the stabilization process, right? And we
Yep.
clearly cite that on it. We basically just I do if when I'm shopping, I look, are there multiple photos? Is the person growing them themselves? And I guess another metric I look at are kind of like I guess like community pulse. Who else has grown from this person? Did the seeds come in and are they dyed? Like if someone just bulk importing seeds and claiming, oh no, you can't do that. And in a lot of markets, like in person selling with market stalls here, have started enforcing that you now have to sign like a disclosure that you're not importing seeds. You have grown all the product yourself, and that you're not using chemical X, Y, and Z, right? So I think that also, if you have someone, not to promote ourselves, but if you have someone going
Yep.
out in physical market and they want to put their face out there, we don't show our faces a lot online, but that we're in spaces quite often. We're reachable. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the good thing is you want to know that not only where you're sourcing your seeds from is lines up with whatever values or things that you want to hold to, but it's also knowing that they're a part of the community and not just a very transactional type of situation. So,
Yeah.
yeah, very
And that's
cool.
like, if I can jump in here, that's also like, I know we have a nugget of knowledge coming down the line, but this is another item that we like to look at. Is that when when we moved here, we bought a Christmas tree farm that stopped functioning in the 70s, and all the stumps were still here. And you can mulch the stump with your hand. Like you can reach in and it's just like super fertile and everything like that. And it's great. The first thing we did before we started kind of scaling out a little bit was going to the closest farms to a res that I could find and basically saying, hey, give me advice on growing this crop and give me advice on the region. And that's, there's lots of advice online, and a lot of it is really good grown by people that have, 10 decades doing this, 15 decades doing that. And that's really important. But, if you're growing in a desert, like across the globe, or like an arid environment, it doesn't apply necessarily to where you live. So even, I guess, this is another prospect or tip for customers looking, talk to farmers at farmer stands and like from that area and ask, like, even if they're not selling seeds, like how do you find growing peppers here? When do you start? Where do you get your nutrients from? And all that kind of stuff. Because they will have, if it's a farmer, they're going to have the cheapest source of nutrients. They're going to have something that's stable and breaks down in your region at a rate that applies to your rain conditions, your temperature conditions, and likely your field conditions, right? Those are like quick tips for like kind of people getting started for going into the soil, because into this, from hydroponics to into the soil, it's a big change. And I kind of touched on it earlier. We started hydroponics and now we're in soil. So it's been a huge change for us, but a good one.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that you take aspects of hydroponics and apply them to growing in the soil, and that may be a little new age, and it might, be a little controversy there and discussing that. But I think that if you're talking, with your nutrient supplier, or you're talking with the farmers in the area, you will see the benefit faster than if you like read a Chat GPT summarized guide online, right?
Yeah.
Not poking fun. I'm just saying, like, you have to do your own research with local people.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And that plays hugely into this whole thing, because it's like, it's very true to what you're saying. So, they're going to know, because it depends on, like, their livelihood depends on growing outside. So they're going to know how to best do that in that given environment. Now, granted, if they live there or if they've had to travel a far distance to get there, that's a totally different statement. But yeah, very, very true in that sense. And I didn't even, I didn't really think about it. I guess I've done similar, but I haven't like leaned into it for that purpose. And yeah, that's a great avenue to really go into, because that also kind of dovetails to where I was going to ask a second ago of how long were y'all growing hydroponically, and then did any of that, or does that still exist in any kind of scale inside, maybe for like test plants?
Yeah, so hydroponically, we were growing from like 2018 till now. Until 2 years ago when we had my daughter, and then now we have a play space in the basement where I used to have two 12-foot walk-in tents. So it was just straight peppers. It was great. It's great for isolating, kind of germination testing, all the kind of stuff that we do here on a yearly cycle. They're great, and we did hydroponics, until about 2023, and then now the remainder of that is basically we have like 12-foot flood tables on pallet racking in the basement, and all of our plants start there. And it's touchy subject, but we start a little earlier than is recommended. But I need the time to reset. Like if we have a bunch of seeds come in and we're looking at maybe like a 20-day germ cycle on them, if I have to restart because our season is so short here, I'm going to lose time. I'm going to have smaller plants, right? And I think that, and Rich has said it himself too, right? And I'm not putting him on the spot here or anything, is that if you give them the fundamentals, they will grow. People have been growing indoors for decades and decades. That's not to say people that grow outdoors don't know what they're doing. I'm not implying that by any means. It's just, it is possible if you give them what they need and then transitioning them to outside. Definitely. Like we start everything inside. It's not hydroponic. We used to, like I said, we did hydroponic, but now we're kind of just doing bottom watering, and then we kind of have like a DWC culture that flows through the plants as we pump it through, and it's great. I think that there's something to be said for the simplicity of starting the season when you start a large number of plants, or even if you're starting a small number of plants, as long as your main goal is to eventually transition to outside.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And to that point, I've tried many different iterations over the years. In the studio here, I've actually had to turn them off. I keep telling myself I'm going to. I have two decent sized grow tents. I can't remember the exact dimensions. I think they're like I think it's 6 by 8, something like that. And
Good size.
so uh, I had two side by side, and basically the idea was obviously have some indoor plants, whether that be things that could be attacked by pests that I don't want to have be attacked, like strawberries or leafy greens, like delicate things. Like during the year was the idea to have them. Obviously, start pepper plants whenever it was time, but it's quickly changed to I will select 2 plants for each tent. And so sometimes I'll deliberately put 2 plants that I'm like, well, I like both of these. And then sometimes I'll just keep them isolated, right? I'll just shut
Yeah.
down and keep them safe. But it never fails. I always end up growing like 1 experimental plant and then 3 that I really want. And I always just try to see what goes on. And I've done both, like you were saying, very true to trying out the solely hydroponic inside. I tried different methods of hydroponics, and yeah, the nice DWC was probably the most beneficial, biggest results that I was able to see. But the downside was just the sheer upkeep with that, because it's like changing out those nutrients all the time, flushing the water, doing all these things, make sure the roots don't get that lovely mold and yuckiness that kind of chokes them out. So, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I think that if people are starting indoors, and the DWC buckets are really easy to get into, but the upkeep is high. There's a product here made in Canada. It's from Alberta called Hydro Bucket, and it actually is just like a regular round bucket with a lip that comes out on one side, and you can lift open the lid. So it's almost like a feed channel that you would normally pour like grain down essentially on a bucket, but it's their gold. Even though we've shut down the hydroponics and my wife's like, nope, it's play area for our daughter. We're getting rid of all this stuff. I still have the hydro boxes in the basement. They're under the shelf. Like I'm not getting rid of them. They're that great. But yeah, you're right. It can definitely get out of control. I guess like not to turn this into like a tip for new growers or anything like that, but another golden thing you can have is a decent hydroponic store that isn't just going to sell you junk. Oh, you need this, that, and the other thing. No, no, no. You just find a decent one that will talk you through what you need. Don't go wild at first. Just grow slowly. You know what I mean? It's yeah. I think that's a huge asset to have.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember stumbling into the first time I even messed around with any kind of hydroponics was 2016. I think is whenever I made my first DWC bucket purchase. So it was like into 2015, but it was for the 2016 year. And started out 2 buckets, didn't have a tent, had a light. I was trying to like do the whole Mylar blanket nonsense, draping it, making it cheap, down and dirty, and put a cardboard box like cut open and wrapped it around to kind of like do a makeshift thing. Yeah, that was a fun year. I had a habanero plant in there, and God, what was it? A ghost pepper plant in there, I think. And it was just to test out the system. And I learned a lot. I learned a lot about the lights and all the craziness that really needs to happen that isn't quite as I guess talked about, or at least it wasn't then.
Yeah, it's so true because like it's constant learning, right? Even here, like we may have too much rain, we might have too little rain. Like the hardness of our water can vary. It just becomes one of those things where you're constantly learning, constantly evolving. Like next year, we're going to a brand new irrigation system, and I'm looking forward to using it. I know in the past you've discussed using kind of like the landscape fabric down and whatnot, and it's a godsend, right? And you don't learn that stuff unless someone in the community is willing to talk to you about it or to engage with it. But I think like as a reminder, the community needs to engage in like in an appropriate manner too, right? Like it's very important that people that are new, they maybe not know what to do, and it's easy to push them away if you're discussing like abruptly. You know what I mean?
Yep, absolutely. And speaking of the landscaping fabric, because I don't think we touched on it whenever I had last talked about it on the podcast, because I fell victim to this. Now, it's not that this is the wrong way to do it, but like there's so much time that can be saved if you're, obviously you have this mapped out, you're going to lay the fabric down, you got all this stuff. If you have that thick fabric, that thick landscaping fabric there, often you're told to just take an X-Acto knife or a knife and whatever, kind of cut an X to be able to plant in there. Man, just find you a nice 2-inch diameter or diameter end up, or however big you want the hole, um, circular thing. Like oftentimes they'll have those like soil sample core removers that you can step down on and just heat the bottom of that with that circle with a blowtorch to where it's hot, and you can just like slide through there like butter, pull the thing out, and you're good to go. So
Absolutely. That's a great recommendation. Here in Ontario, the province or the state, if you will, that we live in, we're not allowed to use any pesticides. Even as a farm, we're allowed to have access to certain ones, but we're not allowed to use it for anything that we grow for that's consumed, right? Like there's a full ban on it, no lawn pesticides, nothing. It has to all be beneficial bugs. And so we use a product called the Weed Dragon, and it's basically a propane torch that attaches to what is like a really low grade flamethrower. And it's the same diameter as our drill bit, our drill auger essentially. And we roll it out on the driveway and I walk down and just drop it, drop it, drop it, drop it. And it makes the same holes. I've seen people do it with paint cans and charcoal on the bottom. There's so many like creative ways to get it done, right? And
yep.
yeah, you're right. Like if you do cut it with an axe, you're going to run into stranding. And you run into stranding when you're cleaning. It's plastics and all that kind of stuff, right? So it's tricky, and yeah, the fabric's the way to go. If you want lower maintenance, I know. Sorry, I should say in my growing region, it's the way to go because I don't want to promote stuff that may not work in other regions, right?
Yeah. As to where, like here in Texas, I tried the landscaping fabric. It works, but I, at least here, found that oftentimes it'll end up drying out the soil, like baking it so much more with that intense sun that we get down here. And the godsend for me has been whenever I switched over to the RCW method and having that nice wood chips breaking down over time. It's feeding the soil, it's keeping that hydration locked in, and it is very easy for me to go through. If I do see a weed, it's a slight tug and the whole thing just comes out with ease. So yeah, I definitely will advocate for that down here all day long.
And running like on the continual learning side, we run basically 8 rows, 50 feet long each year. And every 2 rows, we use a new nutrient every year or a new amendment. We'll see, okay, like what's it like using kind of like these wood chips versus like, say, like more of like a playground wood chip that's larger and will last more seasons, breaking down slower, right? Or we'll use like let's use like kind of like a beneficial microbe in this row and then amend it with kind of worm castings and stuff like that, right? Each year, like I'm not gonna say we haven't figured it out. We know what we're doing to stay in our business, but at the same time, I'm always pushing to try something new. And some years it doesn't pan out, right? But
Yep.
as long as you try it, you never know what will come of it, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, that's the best way to go about it. One, because you're adding a layer of continuing learning, right? You're also adding a layer of unknowns that makes the process a lot more interesting and something that you want to stick to. And then obviously you're being able to help educate others as a, just watch along, listen along, sharing of the knowledge, whether it just be a written post or a video itself. So it's greatly beneficial. I think it's awesome to hear that.
So we try to make that as well. Like we will on Instagram, which is like the platform you'll find us most often on. We'll post videos of like, oh hey, we're using the paint mixer to keep our nutrients fresh when doing this or that, right? And we'll show like a video of the bucket. This year we tried. Canada has a product. It's mostly hydroponics, but they also have a Terra solution. It's a bio product, so basically it breaks down much faster. We notice, but it's super available to the plants. And it's organic, right? So it's kind of hard to beat once they have that certification to try it. And you can buy nutrients almost in any size. I'm not plugging them specifically. I mean, like there's tons of different brands that kind of, if you plant or you have 300 plants, give it a try. Give different aspects a try. Don't go with the same thing and use the same soil without recharging it, right?
Yeah. I will say it is a bit like if you're going to try these experiments out, don't try, because I did this the hard way, don't try drastic differences between 3 different plots and then put some stuff that you really depend on and want to be greatly bountiful in that test plot. It does not turn out well. So
Absolutely. Baby steps of nutrients for sure. You got to remember too, right? A nutrient company's job is to sell you nutrients. They want you running them at the maximum they feel is suitable for the product. Now, I'm not saying deviate from their feed plan. I am just saying lean into it slowly. Don't start too aggressive. work your way in and then see like, wow, okay, we fed this row this much. We're going to feed this row more because maybe I should increase or decrease it. It's a lot of trial and error. And those are built on kind of the fundamental understanding of starting peppers, right? Like it's definitely, it's a niche that I don't know if anyone will ever nail because there's so many, like you do one thing, you get heavy rains, oh, it's washed all my nutrients through the soil this year, right? So next year you bulk up the soil, oh, no rain, right? Like it's hit or
Yep.
miss. You just have to roll with it.
Yeah, yeah. It's always something new. There, even when you think you know it, there's always something new. So I love it.
Absolutely.
Okay. Well, how big of a grow do y'all now run outside? Because I know you said you're solely outside. So what does that kind of look through? How many plants are you rocking out there?
Yeah, so we start in the spring, 600 plants indoors, and we sell 200 at market, and we do 400 in the field. 400 is the maximum capacity that my wife and I can. Well, it's a bit above, but my wife and I can plant, harvest, de-seed, all before kind of the first week of October rolls in, and everything shuts down, right? So that's
Yep.
kind of our limit right now, and we've looked at other opportunities and whatnot, and they're great, but at the same time, for us to maintain that focus and kind of be like, I want to run like 7 to 10 of each plant so I can make sure that we're only carrying forward three. Like people don't realize how much waste that actually generates, right? And we're at our limit for that. 400 is the max. And like I said, I don't want viewers to think that the number is what's important because I know people that grow 12 plants and they're not that much of a different region than us and they're massive. They're just because of the amount of time and energy they can spend with them, right? And it's I don't know. We run 400 in the field. I love it. It's the perfect amount for us to handle. That way, it gives room for some errors and failures. Maybe poor genetics that you're trying for a first year, and you can just kind of keep up with it. And then, like I said, 200 for market. We would love bringing a Superhot to the market and a mild to the market. He loves seeing people here with their faces light up with like green starts in the market. They're like, yes, tomatoes, great. I'm gonna like put them on the smoker when I get home. I don't care if it's -20. I'm still gonna do it, right? Like it's how it is here.
Yeah, yeah, no, that's super cool. Well, and then that also is why you had mentioned the different watering systems and things that you're going through. So that's why I was just like, okay, so it has to be, I would imagine it's already going to be a big grow, but it has to be something that's like reasonable. And yeah, to be the time that I switched from a manual process of watering and feeding to setting up drip systems and drip feed systems. Basically, it was the same line. I just had one side was a pump in for feed and one was a pump in for water. And so, yeah, it tremendously saves you. But at the same time, if you're still not giving it the dedicated time to go check that periodically, you might walk out to a clogged line, other issues. So I was going to ask, like, what is the overall day-to-day process? Are you just feeding once before when you go? Are you top feeding periodically?
So we don't want to stress out the well too much because we live at the same residence that we do all of our agricultural activity at. So what I've ended up doing is we have a weather station on site, and the weather station actually has wireless moisture sensors that I calibrate every spring. It's important that you do that, or you're going to be joking around with yourself, right? And we have them in every other row. Since we run 8 rows, we have 4 sensors, and it will notify us based off of the amount of moisture per content that I like to keep them in. Well, it's not technically a percentage level because it's actually just a readout of a number. I like to aim between 35 and 55% moisture content for my specific soil conditions. So you got to remember too that like mild peppers drink a lot more water than super hots, right? And dark peppers with dark foliage quite often grow taller than other peppers. So it really varies per row. But yeah, so a day to day would be kind of like I wake up, I'm taking a look to see, okay, how moist are the rows? What's the 5 day forecast? Is it going to rain? The landscape fabric's perfect. Like it's about 30% permeability. It's the fabric we use is very wide. It's meant for driveways, so you kind of put it down and they put lots of gravel on top. So it does allow water through it without not allowing weeds through it. And it's great. But at the same time, it will also block out some of that water. So we're always keeping an eye on the weather, and that would be like my start to the day. I usually take the dog out and we'll go walk up and down the rows. Just even though it's only 400 plants, take a look, see what's going on. Okay, do we need to? We deal with a company called Copper, and they do our indoor and outdoor biological bug control, and biological being beneficial bugs. So if we see something going on, we'll usually like kind of see, okay, what type of bug is it? How are we going to handle it? Do we need to handle it, or can we wait for kind of like all of the area around our lot to kind of come in and just deal with it for us? So we're on 11 acres here, and like I said, a good 7 acres of that was Christmas tree farm, and the rest was maple syrup taps. And there is a lot of good and bad bugs that live in our area. So especially for peppers, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
we just want to be in the know and be prepared that maybe we do have to purchase a solution. Indoors, hands down, you got to purchase a solution, right? So that's kind of like our day to day. And then, like I said, ramping up to September, we're cataloging, photographing. This year we sent peppers for testing to get the Scoville on them.
Nice.
Kind of just like that kind of stuff is our day to day, and just helping customers. Like we have people that don't buy from us and they send us a message and they're like, "How do you do this?" We're an open book. Like, yeah, I always stand by like kind of like if the community does better, we all do better. If we can make hot sauce, peppers, and growing the norm, then we did the right thing, right? We have to be good stewards to the land and to the bees and everything else around us. And I think that should be like the cornerstone of most people who are growing. It's not to sell seeds and make money. Anyone can sell seeds and make money. They can take all their plants, blend the seeds. Haha, here you go. It's not the way to go. That's not helping growers. It's not helping the environment, and it's not helping producers perpetuate sauce that may contain this or that.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Man, there's still so much that I just want to like dive into. But I do know that I have a very fun game plan that would still kind of carry a lot of the similar conversation. But yeah, let's do that. Let's go ahead and kick it on over to the game. I know there's still going to be so much more to want to dive into, but we'll definitely get that. All right. Well, here we go. As I had mentioned, I have a feeling this is going to still continue into a nice level of conversation going on here about, well, of course, peppers and everything else that's going to be going on. So, Pepper Gauntlet. This is iteration number 24 of all the different Gauntlet series. So we're going to dive into these. Now, just because something gets the axe does not mean that you hate it, you would never grow it again, you don't like it, any of that. Just simply someone has to win. And a lot of these peppers might look familiar to you. So let's go ahead and punch this one on in. Well, we have the Orange Ripple versus the 13003. So I was very curious about this one. I would love to learn more about that. The Ripple looks absolutely stunning. I believe I've seen photos of this pepper shown online, but both of them amazing looking.
Yeah, the Orange Ripple, amazing cross. I just love the color. We always have to carry like pods that are geared specifically to hot sauce producers that want a specific color that don't want to add additives. And I agree. Like I don't want to be adding to change the color of it if I don't have to. It creates for an unauthentic experience. So Orange Ripple, it's perfect for that. It has like really nice spice. It's good to go. But I'm gonna have to say, like on this one for sure, 13 Peppers, who created this 13003, it's just really gnarly. Like we post photos of these kinds of peppers all the time. People say we char them. It's not the case. Where the sun exposure hits them, they kind of darken, they get really neat, and I think that's part of our jam at Pepper Merchant. We're more about gnarlies. I really like the other one, but yeah, definitely 13003.
All right, we will move that one on over there. Put the X on the Orange Ripple. Yeah, beautiful looking pepper. I don't think I've tried I haven't tried either of those, but I don't think I've tried the Ripple yet. Sounds interesting. But all right, next up, well, we have a battle here between a chocolate and a mustard pod. So we have the mustard Naga Brain on the top selection, and then the Primatale crossed with a chocolate Maruga as what it's up against.
Primatale, chocolate Maruga, hands down. It's not that I don't like the other one. I just think that these ones, when they're dried, they're super gnarly and lots of oils in them. And I think that like a lot of people seek that, right? Like it's always stunning when you cut a pod open and you turn it to get the seeds out, and there's tons of oil there. You're just like, oh, it's a winner, right? It's moving forward for sure.
All right, I like it. All right, let's zoom this on in. We'll take a look at the next one here. Well, we have the Black Bubblegum Armageddon versus, well, Poblano.
You know what? Like BBG Armageddon's very, very popular. We sold out last year right away. We're selling down pretty quick this year. It's locking the pheno is really tough with it. But I'm gonna have to say Poblano because I think that you need to have variation in life. You can't just all go super hot. Like we grow a bunch of Poblanos here, we dice them up, and we turn them in with breakfast hash. I just love the flavor. It's hard to beat the OG.
Absolutely. It is a solid pepper indeed. It's one that my younger daughters will grab fresh as I'm cooking something. They'll grab and start eating it. And, oftentimes that's what I'll like incorporate in soups and stews and different kind of grilling sessions or stir fries. And the family just loves it. So, very well used and very tried and true pepper there. So I like it. All right. Well, we have the Leviathan Scorpion Chocolate versus the Tiberius Mauler.
Leviathan, Scorpion for sure. All of our photos are kind of on a wood poster about yay big. So you can see like those would go from almost like my index finger to my lower palm. They're huge, really nice shape to them, and like decent heat. And when they hang on the plant before they start to ripen, they just look devastating. So I got to carry that one forward.
All right. I like it. Definitely do. I don't dislike the Tiberius Mauler. I was always, it's one of those that it looks hotter than it is whenever I've consumed it. So
Yeah.
and it's vice versa. The Leviathan has that kind of look that you're like, oh, this is going to be just kind of like a typical ghost, right? And then you get hit with it and it's a totally different burn. It's much more enjoyable and it's more intense than what you initially expect.
So we have some massive ghosts coming next year. So, like I said, we've been growing things year to year. We don't release everything we have until we're mostly happy with it or to the point that we believe it's ready. And we have these super long ghosts. Like I know there's like super ghosts out there and whatnot. I don't know if it was just the growing conditions from the season, but we're going to grow them out again for a third year in a row. And we hope to have them in the shop next year. And they are just, I'll have to send you some seeds. They're going to be good.
Nice, nice. Okay. I like it. Well, up next, this is also another that is a tried and true, the Yellow Fatale. And then we have down here, this is one I'm not very familiar with. This is the Maya Habanero.
Yeah, so my habanero is a variety we received from another vendor a few years ago. Really good, slightly hotter than a regular habanero, like slightly hotter. Not, it hasn't been tested. We do have a new habanero that we launched this year that we received from a grower in Mexico, and we tested it and it is hotter. But I'm gonna have to go Fatale on this one. It's versatile, nice floral scent to it from my perspective as like someone who's cutting open the seeds and consuming it. But I
Yep.
enjoy it.
All right. I like it. Simple enough. Well, we have the Thunder Mountain Longhorn versus the Peach Miasma.
Peach Miasma for sure, 100%. We've been growing this pepper for a few years. I absolutely love it. Even if we weren't growing for seed stock each year, I grow it just for myself. I love the shape. It gets so good every year. Definitely hands down.
All right. I like it. Let's check out this next one here. We got the Cow Killer Extra Large versus the Scotch Brains Red.
Scotch Brains. We got to go. Scotch Brain. Overall yield and absolute shape. It's nailed this year for sure.
Yeah. They're such great snacking pepper. I don't know, for a lot that's not a snacking pepper, but for me that's a nice, crisp, fresh, fruity snacking pepper. I love it. So,
Yeah, for sure.
all right. Well, this is oftentimes viewed as a nice snacking pepper here. This is the Peachadoo versus, well, this is the extra large lemon spice jalapeno.
Yeah, so lemon spice jalapeno, I'm gonna push that forward for sure. It company with orange spice. So like when we grow a variety, we will seek out like 3 or 4 vendors and then an authentic. So like this New Mexico Chili Institute gets some seeds from them, which is kind of hard in Canada, but we get some. And then we purchase from another vendors that we have qualities that we enjoy from, and then they're vetted, right? And we came across these super large ones, and they just have that like intense, like nice jalapeno flavor, but carry the traits of the lemon spice, and they're great. Like hands down, we'll grow them for sure.
Very nice. I do love those, but yes, as much as you're saying, actually, I got one right here. As you're saying, they're rather small normally, so to have them in a bigger form is nice. So
We had to like move around. We grew them for probably 3 or 4 years before we found the one that we thought was suitable for what we wanted. Because it's nice to have a lot of small peppers. Don't get me wrong. And people may question like, "Oh, that's just a yellow shepherd pepper." It's like, no, 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 no. Like we go through, we make sure everything's legit, and if it meets the traits for what it was sold to us as, because we don't rename anything, then that's what it is.
yep. All right, I like it. And that also helps kind of keep the confusion to a minimum, if you will, by not changing things around like that. So I can appreciate that.
It's
All
also
right.
a great way to protect yourself from like saying that you name crosses. If you just don't name anything, you don't create anything, then it is as it says on the package. And if it doesn't match what the photo had the vendor gave us, then we toss the plant, right?
Yeah. No, perfect. I like it. All right. Well, now we are down to the final 8, and it's starting to shape up to be a pretty cutthroat battle here. You might already see a winner. I don't know. We'll find out all together. So, all right, the 13 versus the Primo Tali Chocolate Maruga.
Charlotte Maruga. Let's move it up.
All right. I like it. There's that. There's that. Let's keep it rolling. We got the Poblano versus the Leviathan.
We gotta bring Poblano. You know how it is.
All right. This is shaping out to be a very nice lineup here. And then we have the Yellow Fatali versus the Peach Miasma.
Peach Miasma. For sure.
All right. And let's get that on over there. Now we're down here to the Scotch Brains Red versus the extra large lemon spice jalapeno.
Scotch Brains.
All right.
We're keeping this final classics versus kind of new gnarlies.
Yeah. I like it. We do have quite the shakeup here. It's gonna be an interesting decision because it's right now looking like a flip of a quarter. Whether you're gonna go with a tried and true or if you're gonna go with something new. Nothing wrong either way. So here is what we have as the final 4. We have the Primo Tali with the Primo Tali Cross Chocolate Maruga versus the Poblano, and then we have the Peach Miasma versus the Scotch Brain Red. And let's do it. Let's go with the Primo Tali versus Chocolate Maruga versus Poblano first.
No, send it forward.
Which one?
The Poblano. We'll move up.
All right. I like it. Here we go. Let's get this on over here. We're going to make this bigger for sake of the effect. All right. Now, Peach versus Red. Who is taking this one home?
Peach Miasma.
All right.
Sorry, Scotch. Peach Miasma's the winner.
And let's get this one down here. Make them even at least, right? And get that X on there. Now we're down to the final. We have the Poblano versus the Peach Miasma. What is taking this one home?
I think like growers need to grow what they like and not what is popular. And I like growing gnarly peppers. I'm not gonna lie. I enjoy having a bunch of inventory that just absolutely scares you before you pull it off the plant. Peach Miasma is the winner for sure.
All right, I like it. Let's get this one shrunk back down. Throw an X on it, and we're just gonna showcase it off a little bit here. So, all right, there's our winner, the Peach Miasma of Pepper Gauntlet 24. So absolute blast. Being able to not only see just a glimpse of what you have going on your site of different pepper varieties. So if you were watching this and something caught your eye, you can definitely head on over to Pepper Merchant and grab yourself some seeds. And hey, there's plenty of others there. Speaking of seeds, I know we've kind of talked about this as well, but I did not want to gloss over this aspect. Picking seeds out of a pepper plant and setting it off to the side to wait and dry is a bit of a risky process to just leave it on, whether that be a little cup or a plate or whatever. I mean, at least in my house, kids run by knocking stuff off. You have fans, gusts of wind, whatever the case may be. So many possible issues that could arise. Not to mention just the simple sake of time waiting for that. But I know that on your website you have a very fun way of drying seeds. So I was going to have you talk a little bit about that real quick.
Yeah, absolutely. Like everyone's had that experience where you have a bunch of plates on the counter. It makes the wife unhappy, and it's prone to like you said, a breeze, ruining all the effort you put in from sowing to saving. Right. So we have basically seed dryers on our website. They have small little drawers on them and a little USB fan in the bottom. And we sell these to growers who are kind of doing this or that, and they're great. They're numbered drawers. The airflow goes right through, and they're awesome. It's been a lifesaver for us in terms of just being organized, because the organized grow is the best kind of grow. It's a lot of work, but I think like the paper plates, yeah, they're 10 cents a piece. Throwing away your seasoning because you dropped a bunch of jalapenos and a bunch of bazankas on the floor. What are you going to do? You can't go back in time and fix that, right?
Yep, yep. Yeah, you're not going to be able to stare at the outside of that seed and accurately with in a very definitive outlook know exactly what is there. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I like it. Okay, and I guess because I've seen these things around, so I've always been curious. Is this like something that you designed? Is this like how did this come to be?
There's an open source model online that someone released, and basically it has the drawers and kind of like the dovetail and whatnot. But we've done improvements on the model ourselves. So we've increased the fan diameter. We've increased kind of like the drawers are numbered. We kind of put a little spin on the design and just made overall changes to the assembly process that makes it easier for us to assemble these. Credit to almost open source as well as growing community for how open people are for sure. But more of what you do with it, how you move it forward, right? You kind of like with the nutrients, you can't just stay with, well, this is the nutrient you use, so you have to use it, right? You got to reinvent, understand where you went wrong, and then hone your craft, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And the other thing that I was thinking of, because I wanted to ask, because you've had experience with this. Now, is there the thresholds between these drawers? Do you have any kind of like potential chance for seed to lift and like slide out of that through that fan?
Yeah. So no, the fans, we've amended the wattage to be such a volume of airflow that it doesn't blow the seeds around, even when they're completely dry. We have designed custom ones that have a smaller mesh for smaller desires for people that have other seeds. We have people that like to use it for tomato seeds after they've gone through a quick ferment. No, I guess I haven't seen anything fall through. We definitely have tighter mesh for maybe like some of the like Daybreaker or like super tiny, like weary kind of seeds.
Mm-hmm.
If a customer asks, we actually end up just comping them the tray. Like if they say, "Oh, I actually have really mild ones," it's like, "You bought the seed dryer? We'll just send you more trays. It's no problem at all." It's definitely a value added item we have to the site that also works as a great way to bring people to our market booth, right?
Yeah, yeah. No, that's awesome. All right. Very cool. No, I've always liked those. I like the overall thought process and look behind it. And then, of course, the second that they started to become more out there and seen was about the time that I really stopped collecting seeds because I was just like, I need to start growing what I have. And then I had to scale back whenever my two daughters were born. And now I'm starting to slowly grow it back out. Doing exactly what we talked about at the very beginning, slow and steady to find that level of still enjoyable without being too much of a taxable event to, really take care of. So,
Absolutely. Yeah.
yeah. Well, all right. Very, very fun game. Very fun way to roll into as well, talking about those dryers. Now, the next part here is the nugget of knowledge. This is, we've had so many sprinkled in throughout this episode, but if you had a specific nugget of knowledge that you wanted to share, I guess I'll really kind of leave that open since we have already touched on so many instead of like honing it in on just one specific area.
I have to say, talk to local people, talk to local farmers. Not only are you going to understand soil conditions, you're also going to get hookups for like, where can I buy this cheaply to help out with my plants. It doesn't matter if you're growing like in a raised bed or if you're growing fabric pots or you're growing right in the soil. They're going to tell you where the seed and feed is, where you can get a bag of nutrients that will last you 1 month, 1 year for like $12, right? And kind of, strip out all of the, it's been said online a lot, strip out all of the, oh, you need fancy this or fancy that. You don't. Talk to the farmers, talk to people at markets, find out what growing conditions you should be watching out for, and use that as your local knowledge and combine that with the online kind of like widen your scope for expertise in peppers, for sure.
Very nice nugget of knowledge. Thank you for that. Now, this next part here is the hot seat nomination. This is someone that you think would make a great guest for the show.
I get one.
You can pick how. There's no real limit. Yeah.
Let me list. No, here's my recommendation. For hot seat nomination, I would say we get along really well with Val from Chez Pico. Pico peppers.
Mhm.
They're great. They're absolutely amazing. They have new hot sauces all the time that sometimes are only available in their store. Val is amazing there. That would be my nomination. If not, then I would also pick Zach from MT Hell. Also up and coming, like really well established hot sauce producer in Montreal. I think that like Canada has two sides. We have kind of like the Anglo-French side and like the English speaking side, right? And Montreal, I guess, like to American viewers, there's a great hot sauce scene there. And I think that speaking to either of those individuals would really bring out, like, those two companies are the sauce that we keep bringing into our place personally, like that I enjoy. We've dealt with Val on seeds before, and it's been great. I have no complaints with either of those people. I think they would make excellent kind of like different worldviews to your stream, right? So
Yeah. No, absolutely. Thank you for that. So, Val and Zach, I'll be reaching out. We'll have a time set up to have y'all on the podcast. And thank you for, again, those nominations. This last part here is greatly beneficial for those that are just audio only listening. Obviously, everything will be in the description down below. But for those audio only listeners, where can they find you? How can they find you? And any kind of announcements you want to make?
yeah, absolutely. Our website's peppermerchant.net. All our seeds are available there. If something's out of stock, you can click notify. It helps us guide what we're going to grow next season, and then you get notifications right away if we have extra stock after we sow. We're also on Instagram, peppermerchant, pepper.merchant. Even if you're not a customer, just reach out, ask us questions. We're always down to chat, and we love trading seeds and kind of just like shooting, ideas back and forth between each other. I think that's how we get things done.
Absolutely. Mike, thank you so much. It has been an absolute pleasure having you on. As I'd mentioned earlier, there's still so much more we can dive into. I mean, we got really bogged down, I feel like, mostly, everything to do just simply because all I was wanting to was focus on that initial transition there from the grow to the inside to the outside and everything in between, because I feel like that is such a pivotal thing, but there's still so much more we can dive into. So would love to have you back on the podcast.
I appreciate that. Thanks for having me.
Mike, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. It's been an absolute pleasure having you on. If you'd like to keep up with Pepper Merchant, I'll have the direct links down below for the website, as well as links to all the socials, so you can keep up with everything that he has going on, as well as really just being able to get a good insight of really kind of the grow that he has going on via the socials. And like he mentioned, reach out, be able to gain that information, that knowledge base. If you enjoyed the products that are featured here on Hot or Not, I will have the direct link down below, as well as links to the main site, so you can check out the full lineup of amazing products. If you enjoyed the products that are featured here on Hot or Not tonight, I'll have the direct link down below for that, as well as a link to the main site, so you can check out the full lineup of amazing products. Want to give a quick shout out for all those that have recently found the podcast, all the way to those that have been rocking since day one. Thank y'all all so much for being here and making this podcast what it is. New episodes drop every Tuesday and Thursday at 8 p.m. Central, as well as have sponsorship opportunities available right now for the podcast. So if you're looking to sponsor the podcast, have a featured segment, go ahead, reach out in the socials or reach out via the website. That is theswearword.net. Quick shout out for our current sponsors, podvision.io. If you're looking to grow your brand, start your brand, you've hit a bump in the road, you're trying to figure things out, highly recommend checking out podvision.io for all of those needs, as well as webdx.one. Maybe you have an online site. Maybe you had a guy at one point. Maybe you lost contact with them, never got in touch, never got one built. Whatever the case may be, highly recommend checking out webdx.one for all of those needs. Best of all, you get to focus on what you do best while they get you looking great online. I'm Brandon Swear, and from everything from the world of hot, this has been The Swear Word.